No way, bro. What's up? Hello, Mr. Brandenburg. Having fun? I mean, that's looking pretty good. That's looking pretty good. Get out of here. He's walking into those, trust. Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the Barfleur. This is a new Tier 9 premium destroyer. This is a British DD that is mainly focused around its torpedoes. In fact, the gunpowder here is the worst at Tier 9. I'm not kidding. This is the worst DPM, the bottom of the DPM charts on both HE and AP DPM for a destroyer. So these torpedoes better be very, very good. And fortunately for this ship, they are very interesting to use. The DPM doesn't stand out, the damage doesn't stand out. You essentially are getting daring torpedoes at Tier 9 with a bit more range. 12-kilometer range is very nice. Lets us get around some radars, or at least play at the edge of some of the radars at higher tier, 12 kilometers. But the unique gimmick here is you reload one Torp launcher at a time. So this is a ship where you don't load all your torpedoes at once. And we've seen that before in something like Kitakami. Very rare ship these days, and it's not very good. In fact, I think it's very bad overall to have the Kitakami style of torpedoes, since that ship, it has such an abysmal reload to start with. So to reload everything takes like 5 minutes or something like that. This ship, though, it has a 57-second base reload on its torpedo. Sounds insane until you realize, well, it's a little over 100 seconds to reload a full 10 Torp salvo. And that's nothing too crazy. But what I really like about this ship is the flexibility that brings. Overall, I think we'd rather have this style of torpedo reload, assuming there's no massive penalty to a full salvo. Think about it like this. If you were playing a Republic, and you had a 10-second reload, but you had to reload each turret individually, well, you'd usually still do the 20-second or so full salvos anyway. But every once in a while, it'd be really nice to put out a single turret in that 10 seconds. And I think that's the flexibility that something like this brings. We won't be seeing that on surface ship main guns, but it's just to illustrate my point here that reloading these torpedoes one at a time with a relatively quick reload for one Torp launcher can be very flexible. Now, it's a bit like charging up airstrikes as well. If we want to talk about Dutch cruisers and their airstrikes, we will generally use one airstrike at a time, so that one's constantly reloading, while saving a set of airstrikes in the background for that perfect launch, something like that. And I think we can do the same with these torpedoes. The flexibility here is what's so nice. I am somewhat reminded of the Mini Gunboat, another Tier 9 Torp boat that has the ability to swap between long range but slow, lower damaging torpedoes and really short range but fast and high damage torps. You're not going to make use of the high damage close range torps most of the time. It's the flexibility, the comfort to have that as an option. And this is different, so the torpedoes are always going to do the same thing. But having that flexibility here to get these torps out on this Nostra Shimmy before my second set are even loaded. Notice my second set are loaded right now. So I wouldn't be able to launch these torps when I did. That Nostra Shimmy likely would have angled in time, and this would have been a much more difficult fight. You'll also notice I didn't fire my guns until he spotted my torpedoes and started maneuvering. Didn't want to spook him, okay? There's some strategy there involved too, but generally, I think these torpedoes are really, really fun to use, even though it's not anything particularly special in terms of their DPM. The chart I have here does not include the nerf that is happening on release, by the way. There's about an 11% nerf to DPM, down from 51 seconds all the way down to 57 seconds base. To simulate this, I just dropped on my commander build the 3-point skill for torpedo reload, which is 10%. And I did not allocate those points. So I had myself a 21-point commander that I just left 3 points off of to try to simulate it the best I could. As you know, I'm not a huge fan of changes happening to test ships as they're about to be released. Makes me think, what's the point of testing in the first place? But I do my best to simulate or get a close approximation to the finalized ship. Or if it's really bad, maybe I'll just hold off and wait for that finalized ship. In this case, though, few seconds difference is meaningful as it's doubled in its impact. Remember that it's one Torp launcher that reloads in 57 seconds base, not both. So the total time difference is around 12 seconds difference total, because it's a 6-second nerf. But compared to what I'm playing with, it's about a 1 to 2% difference, the nerf ship, versus me not allocating those 3 points to extra torpedo reload. Anyways, the torpedo reload DPM here on the third-party website that doesn't have the updates, it's around 98,000 torpedo DPM base. So knock around 10% off of that, we're in the mid to high 80,000 torp DPM. That's not very special at all. In fact, that's relatively low torpedo DPM when we consider something like Venom. I know that ship has not been for sale for an incredibly long period of time, but that has 171,000 torp DPM. I brought up Mini Gumo, depending on the torps here, 102,000 torp DPM. Ugumo, 100,000 torp DPM. So a little bit worse than those, but again, that flexibility. Generally, it's pretty nice to have that torp launcher available a lot faster. You're not always going to need it, but there are plenty of situations where it'd be really nice to at least be able to launch some torpedoes as a torp boat. And these guns are terrible, okay? The dispersion here is bad simply because we're building for full torpedoes. I'm not running the dispersion mod upgrade, but the guns are 113 millimeters. Look like they're off of Jutland guns. But the reload here is 5-second reload base, so it's 81,000 HE DPM. For consideration, Jutland is at 136,000 HE DPM. We're going to be fighting a Kid later and a Fletcher later. 161,000 HE DPM, literally double. A Fletcher doubles our HE DPM. Kind of insane. The HE here, though, does have pretty solid fire chance at 8% base. So you get some fires if you're lucky, but you're not landing that many shells, something to keep in mind. The ability to single launch torps is kind of funny there. Actually managed to hit that poor Awami with 5 out of 5 of that single launch that I did. And it's a bit of bait, usually. You'll notice I missed quite a few salvos when I was going for those single launch. It's a bit of an all or nothing play. Generally, I'd recommend you just launch narrow spreads. Every once in a while, though, going for island cover, like closely around islands where maybe someone's poking their nose out, something like that, it can be worth going for. It's also just funny when you do hit it, so as someone who makes content on the game, it's it's kind of fun to go for, I'm not gonna lie. And we did manage to hit more often than not, which I was really surprised about, as I'm usually not amazing at hitting those torpedoes. I should mention the AP here does have improved pen angles, 60 to 68 degrees, which is nice to have. Shorter fuses at 0.01 seconds, but the DPM is still just so lacking that I would not recommend you build this thing for guns or use it as a gunboat. It's great in a pinch. It's nice to supplement the damage, to finish off a target, anything like that. And I guess we'll see if I did manage to land those torpedoes from that intro. He'd have to go in an awfully straight line. Okay, he actually did it. See, it's fun. It's pretty funny to launch them and see what happens. I should have spread them out, though. Let's be honest. He would have died to 2 torps anyway, so why put all 10 on the same line, right? Now, it is still worth using these guns to go after enemy destroyers. In this case, Jaeger, not the strongest gunboat either, although let's keep in mind, he actually does still out-DPM us. He's got 92,000 HE DPM. We only have 81. We're out-DPM'd by a Jaeger. That's crazy. Anyways, it's still worth using when you have support, okay? Fletcher with double the HE DPM. Well, an extra support from a cruiser or a gunboat DD or a battleship salvo here and there will easily outdo the DPM difference. So it's worth using in the right situation. You got to be smart about it. In this case, it's worth going after this Jaeger to finish him off. But in a situation in a little bit, I'll show you, it's worth baiting someone into firing at you, then popping your smoke. They're still spotted by your teammates. You can use that whole trick to get some decent DPM or a little bit of damage extra in. Speaking of smokes, we don't have standard British DD smokes, and that's so disappointing to me. I love the bursty smokes off the British destroyers. They're a great way to go dark very quickly, get yourself out of a bad situation, and they come up so quickly that you're not really punished for using it. These smokes, though, are pretty much copies of Yu Yang smokes. So it's not even the British cruiser smoke, it's the Pan-Asian destroyer smokes. Kind of interesting, that. And they're still good, certainly worth using, but I would have preferred to have those British DD smokes. It's also got healing, something that's really nice, but higher tier British DDs tend to have it. It's the same type of heal, 10% HP back, 80-second cooldown. We see that on Daring and Jutland. We do, though, get an engine boost. 8% engine boost. We don't usually see that on British DDs because they're built-in acceleration. So you're quite maneuverable. Although, no matter how many shells I dodge from this kid, yeah, we are still going to lose this gunfight. We started with more HP. We even had some support. Our guys went behind islands, but we had a little bit of support, and we still more than lost that engagement. Yeah, the DPM here is quite unfortunate. Now, I would have never gone to essentially 1v1 that guy at the end of this game if it was closer, by the way. You should always look at the score, realize if you're winning or not. In this case, though, I wanted to go see what our DPM looked like against the kid. It's not great. It really isn't great. Oh, no. And I've realized now that I've made it this far into the video without talking about how you get this one. I'm sorry. I got too excited about these torpedoes and trying to explain why I think they're so cool. The monetization here is really, really not good. It's an Admiral bundle or it's in gambling loot boxes. Go for the Admiral bundle if you want it. But the Admiral bundle seems to have been an inflated price. Normally, tier 9 Admiral packs are around 35,000 doubloons. This one apparently is going to be 45,000 doubloons. Crazy. Or $180 US in the premium shop. That's that's ridiculous. What? I mean, that's just... We're inflating Admiral bundles now? Okay. So this one we should be waiting on for maybe some other way to get it. It's not the most impressive ship. I think the Torp concept is really cool, to be honest with you, but not for that much money. I'd recommend a pass, to be honest, given the cost of this thing. That is crazy. Maybe we can see this Torp concept on a tech tree line soon. I don't know. I think it is worth exploring, certainly, so maybe wait for that. Sometimes they do this, where they release a premium, and then later on, if they see that that's a good concept, they'll release a tech tree based on it. Could be worth waiting for that. By the way, those torps were not random, you know, eating random torps, oh no, right? But you should notice, at least in that clip, if you rewind, and I'm sorry I'm not getting to this. I had to talk about the monetization, though. The key was actually behind me. So I think that Fletcher was torping the key, and we just happened to run into that path. Always worth looking out for where your friendly battleships, easy torpedo targets for destroyers are, and generally what path they're taking. Going in front of that path can definitely lead to eating some unfortunate torpedoes like we did here. We're doing a decent job of dodging this Fletcher, but I'm kind of trying to bait him into this fight as much as I can. I probably could have smoked earlier, considering he took the fight so early, but notice my teammates are spotting him for me, and yet we're still getting some okay damage in. It's very, very poor DPM, but making sure we land our salvos nets us some alright DPM into this guy, and we help finish him off. That's a trick that you can use, especially with the British DD smoke, but even with Pan-Asian smokes here like this, they come up quickly enough that we can do that. And we got 12,000 damage in with our main guns. That's not too bad. Although it's definitely a Torp boat. Don't go into this thing thinking you're going to outgun almost anything. You need a lot of help in those situations. And the build is obviously going to reflect that as well here, going for fully a Torp build. I didn't even try to go for a gun build. Notice 3 points left over. Obviously, fill the tubes, all right? This is very important for this ship, getting that torpedo reload down. 39 seconds, it says. It's going to be nerfed back to around 45 seconds, 44 seconds. So around a 90-second reload if you compare it to other DDs with 2 launchers, for example. That's still not bad. But that flexibility I like so much. Again, sorry, I should have mentioned the monetization earlier. I try to generally in these videos how you can get it, mention it earlier. I just got so caught up with this Torp concept because I really do like it a lot. The flexibility, it's really fun to play around with. Obviously, single launchers too. And I didn't even get to mentioning the concealment here. Just so much to talk about with this one. 5.6 kilometers of detect. Very, very solid for tier 9. There's some that are a little bit better, things like Minigumo, things like Ugumo, but basically the same detection there. You are outspotting a lot of the even well-concealed gunboat DDs, and certainly the more open water ones like French DDs, you'll way out detect them. So for the most part, you should only be caught in engagements that you are in control of, deciding if you want to get into that engagement, outside of things like radar, of course, but Yeah, that DPM is pretty bad. That is pretty rough. I mean, the AP is slightly better on its DPM, but that still is only up to 100,000 AP DPM, which is very, very poor as well. As for the equipment on this one, obviously also just going full torps here. Having built-in British acceleration and an engine boost, though, does make you quite maneuverable. Turning circle radius, 610, 3.4 second rudder means you're very difficult to hit if you're playing with your rudder, as well as your acceleration. You got to slow down to about half speed and then speed up to full speed. That's the idea behind dodging with these British TDs with their acceleration. Notice your speed is not great, though. 35 knots. Not good. So it's about changing speed rather than just going so fast that people are generally going to be missing you. Getting up to 3 heals here with Superintendent, very, very good to have healing on a ship like this one, as you do want to play with some AR. Getting that reload down with Adrenaline Rush is pretty fun. Yet it's a little scary to go so low and then you just know you're outgunned by anything. And you're likely going to go down so quickly if you're on such low HP like I was in that last clip. Decent amount of HP, nothing too special though. It's really about that healing to help you stay alive in a lot of situations. Having enough smokes to deal with carrier focus, like plane spotting, is nice to have, but it's going to be tough to try and flank with a ship like this one if the carrier decides to go spot you, which they often will do. Full torp boats aren't the easiest thing to play these days, but something to remember is that a recent dev blog announced that they're removing permanently destroyed modules. So for torp boats, you won't have your torps perma'd just randomly in the game. They're also standardizing module HP, so you won't suddenly spawn with 50% less HP on your torps and they're getting knocked out on cooldown. Like, they're just always knocked out. Also, if they do happen to get temporarily knocked out in the new system, it won't reset their reload time back down to the beginning. Really, really nice changes from Wargaming. There's a few of those dev blogs. Discuss them more on the second channel if you're interested. The live streaming channel, where kind of just talking about things like that. If you're interested, you can check that out. But overall, pretty excited about the direction Wargaming's going in. This one, though, the monetization just holds it back, obviously. $180 for a tier 9 Wargaming? I mean, let alone the Mario Kart example. We're approaching like Switch 2 buying the console here with a couple of those. That's crazy. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Really cool concept. Unfortunate monetization. Thank you very much for watching and have a great rest of your day.